CCTV Camera World is proud to provide support for products purchased from our website. If you purchased your product from another vendor, please contact the vendor you purchased from for further assistance.
In this video, we're going to show you how to use our two-way audio security cameras from CCTV Camera World for your business. A two-way audio security camera can help you monitor your business, specifically in actively monitoring if you're watching, let's say, your retail store or office, and you need to talk back to either a customer or your employee. We get frequent requests for customers looking for a good volume output two-way audio camera. While there are many two-way audio cameras that can be found on big marketplaces like Amazon, they are filled with issues such as bugs in the firmware, poor internet security, and more importantly, poor volume. So this two-way audio camera that I have here, I will explain a little bit about it. It has a two-way capabilities, of course, but there are two different kinds of two-way capabilities. One, it has a speaker built into the camera itself to project sound up to about 30 feet away from the camera. And then it also has a microphone in here. It's behind this plastic film. I'm keeping the camera like new, but there is a little microphone in there. And this is the camera lens, this is the infrared illuminator, and this is the white light illuminator. So it has a speaker and a mic built in, but if for some reason you buy this camera and you're using it in a noisy environment where 30 feet of audio pickup and audio projection does not work for you, you can definitely use these accessory connections on the cable. Now, if you were using the camera just with the built-in audio capabilities, all you need to do is run one Cat5 cable back to our NVR. These NVRs are PoE enabled, and they allow data, video, power, audio, everything to go over this data connection that supplies power to the camera as well. Camera talks back to the NVR, sends data with the video, audio, everything else combined in there. Camera even has smart AI video analytics. Smart video analytics in our security cameras let you set more intelligent event detection using a tripwire or an intrusion box to detect if someone has come into the view of the camera, and you can then tell the camera to either notify you, sending you a push notification to your phone, email alerts in some cases, or even using the built-in speaker to sound off an alert or a siren or a voice prompt. Let's say you have a person walk into the view of the camera, you can tell this to notify you on your phone, and then you can use your phone to watch live what is happening and then speak back through the camera to that person. That's the whole purpose of having a two-way audio camera. So you can actively monitor the camera from your phone. Not only that, you can use our PC software to monitor the camera from away from the property. To make all that work, you need to have a fast internet connection going back into the NVR. There's a network port right there. You plug that to your main router. You have to have a fast internet connection with a fast enough upload speed to be able to sustain the video connection going from the camera. This is a 5 megapixel resolution. We even have this in a 4K resolution as well. There are different options available, even with a police blue and red light as well. So you can have not only white light LEDs in addition to infrared, but you can even have white lights and blue and red lights as well in upcoming models that we have in 4K. To set up everything, all you do is install your camera, or actually before you install the camera, bench test it like this on the NVR with the NVR connected to a monitor and a USB mouse. There's a USB ports in the back. I unfortunately can't see it from here, but there are USB ports in the back and one in the front to connect to your mouse. All of our NVRs have that. The monitor connects to the HDMI port in the back of the NVR, and then you can actually view what's happening on the NVR through a monitor. Once you have it connected to the internet using our app or our Windows software or Mac software, you can then watch the camera system, the whole security camera system, remotely. We recommend having a security camera with an NVR because it provides long-term video storage for you to keep in case an event happens that you need to go back to that you missed for evidentiary purposes. You can also use this camera connected directly to your internet with a PoE injector if you just want to have one camera. But with that, there are some shortcomings, like you can't record for more than 2 days. And you can't enable event detection using smart AI and SD card recording because it sometimes overloads the CPU. So to get the most out of the camera, you should definitely use an NVR that will then connect to your router and then to your phone wirelessly or to your laptop. So before we move on to the next section of the video, let me go over the other connections. So if you were just using the camera as a PoE camera, no other optional add-ons, like I said, all you do is just connect this Cat5e cable to the camera back to the NVR. Of course, you want to protect the pigtail on the camera by putting it inside a junction box or inside the wall so it doesn't get corroded. There are little pins inside this connector, they're gold. You don't want them getting oxidized. Now let's say the internal speaker or microphone are not working for you and you need stronger microphone pickup or audio projection. Then this particular camera happens to have an audio out, which is RCA, and audio in. We have a two-way audio kit that allows you to connect into here to project the sound a little bit farther, make it more louder if you have a noisy environment in a retail store. All of our cameras, all PoE security cameras from CCTV Camera World have a 12-volt DC connector. You can ignore this. This is used mainly for testing or for customers who are powering this with 12 volts because they don't have PoE at the location where they're doing this at. And there are some connections on here. This is actually an alarm input that our installers use to connect sometimes like door sensors or PIR sensors to get more specific event detection better than what video can do. Video can, like I said, do smart AI video analytics, or it can just do pixel-based motion detection. Lastly, let me just give you a quick overview if you don't already know what these connections are. PoE ports, this is where 4 cameras can connect into this NVR. This is a 4-port NVR, so you can have 4 PoE ports. This is where the power supply connects for this particular NVR. Larger NVRs have a built-in power supply, so all you do is connect a 110 cord directly to the back. This is a LAN connection. That's where you connect your internet. You should use the LAN connection connected directly to your router to ensure that you don't have any firewalls or networking issues blocking the NVR from connecting to the internet so you can watch it remotely from your phone. This is a VGA monitor for connection for old VGA monitors. This is two-way audio. We do have two-way bidirectional audio capabilities that are not recorded. It's just for talk. You can even add a two-way audio kit to that. Their HDMI connection for connecting to one monitor, 1080p or 4K, and a USB mouse connection. Now in the next section of this video, we're going to show you how to connect this security camera system over the internet and be able to watch it from your PC.
Here I am on the HDMI or monitor interface of my NVR, and I need to create a restricted user. This user should only have access to live view, playback, and then the two-way audio control or even PTZ control of a camera. So in order to do that, I first need to right-click and click Main Menu. I'm going to log into the admin user. This is the main admin user. You need to log into that user to manage other user accounts and user groups. So I'm logging into that user using the graphical user password. You can only set the graphical user password for this main admin user, so be aware of that. Now you can come down here to the account tab. This is where you can add or delete users and user permission management. So I'm going to click that. Here I have just the admin user that I just logged into, and it's in the group name of admin. And here the status is local login because I'm logged into that user. You can also verify what user you're logged into by hovering over the little user icon here at the top right hand side. It looks like a little head and shoulders, and hovering over it shows what your current user is. So I know I'm on this admin user, and this is how I am able to create user accounts and modify user groups. So the first thing you're going to want to do is modify the user group. Now by default, the user group in the user groups here, see it's a user group, and the remark is the user group. By default only has permissions for search, which is the playback menu. And here you can see it has permissions for all of the channels. You can choose which channels that it should have or shouldn't have by clicking the check boxes. and then clicking OK to save those changes. So again, by default, it only has access to search, which is playback, and live, which is live viewing of the camera feeds. So these are the two default permissions that it has. In order to give a user under the user group the ability to do two-way audio or control a PTZ, you do need to go to System and then allow manual control. So again, if you want them to be able to do two-way audio or manually zoom a camera or manually control a PTZ camera using the PTZ controls, then you would want to give that user group manual control. Now this will give all users in this user group the ability to have this permission. And I don't want them to have access to any of the other system settings on my NVR. So I'm only giving this user group manual control. So I'm going to click OK. It says operation succeeded, so it modified this group. Now I can create a user under that user group with those permissions. So I'm going to click the Add button after going to the User tab. I'm going to give this user a username of user1. I'm going to give it a password. You can give it any password you would like. Remarks is if you want to add notes for this user account. And then the user MAC address, that is for advanced users. And then I can say that I want to put this user in the user group. Now this is the user group that I just modified the permissions for. And you'll see that reflected here. So this user does have access to the playback menu, which is the search tab. It has access to all of the channels on live view. Again, if I wanted to remove some of these, I could by checking the boxes. And then it only has on the system tab access to manual control. Again, this is if you want to allow the user to do two-way audio or control motorized zoom or pan-tilt zoom cameras. And then last but not least, we do have a period setting here. This is, you can allow the user access during certain days or hours during those periods. I want to allow them access 24/7, so I'm going to leave this all green. You would just uncolor or color in where you want to allow them access. So I'm clicking OK. I know this user only has manual control permissions, search and playback permissions, and live viewing permissions. So I'm going to go ahead and click OK. It's created this new user account. So if I try to access this user from Smart PSS, the PC software, or from the mobile app, it will have limited rights. It will only have these rights that I have given this user account. So now I'm going to show how to access a restricted user using the PC software. Now I'm on my Windows PC, and the first thing I need to do is install the software. To find the software, I'm going to open up Microsoft Edge. It just so happens to be the web browser I have installed on this computer. And to download the software, I need to access the guide. I can do that by clicking the link in my email from the support team or manually typing in the URL into my web browser. So I'm going to type that in. It's going to be cctvcameraworld.com/cmsoftware. So again, that's cctvcameraworld.com/cmsoftware. That's C as in camera, M as in monitoring, and then software written out, CM software, and then hit enter. It's going to take me to our website, and this is the camera monitoring software guide. So I need to download the correct version. I'm on Windows, so I'm going to click the Windows 10 picture here. It's on Google Drive, and I know it's safe, so I'm going to click download anyway. It's going to download it as a zip archive, so I can click this zip archive right here and open it automatically, depending on what web browser I have. Or I can open the file location and either unzip this by right-clicking and clicking Extract All, or on this version of Windows, I can double-click into it and then just double-click on the application to open it. And you only need to install Smart PSS. You do not need the storage service, so uncheck storage service and then click Next. I'm going to install it in the default Windows directory and then keep the Generate Shortcuts button ticked because I want a shortcut on my desktop. I'm going to click Install. Depending on how fast your computer is and your hard drive is, it might take a few moments to install the software. In the meantime, I'm going to close out of the Windows Explorer window and out of the Microsoft Edge window. Now I have Smart PSS installed, and I'm going to tick the Run Smart PSS button and click the Finish button to open the software. It's going to ask me to initialize the software. Now it's very important to note that this username, admin, and this password you're setting is completely separate from your NVR or DVR. Again, this username and password you're setting up for the Smart PSS software is completely separate from any usernames or accounts on the actual system. So I'm just going to make this the default password, and then I'm going to tick the auto login after registration button. This means I never really need to even worry about this username and password that I've made for the software. If you want to restrict access to the software itself, then you would create a custom username and password here and then untick the auto login button. I'm going to click next, and this is creating recovery questions in case you do want to lock down the software on the computer. I'm just going to use our default recovery questions. And since I used the auto login button, I don't even really need to worry about these questions. This again would only be if you want to restrict access to the software itself. So I'm going to click finish. It automatically logs in using the admin password. And here I can close out of this splash screen. And now I'm accessing the software. If I want to minimize it so it doesn't take up my whole desktop, I would come to the right hand side at the top and click the restore icon. And then I can resize the software as needed. The next step is to add my NVR over the network. Now there's two different methods you can add. First, you need to click the add button to bring up the window. The first method is going to be the IP/domain. This is going to be the IP address on your local network. Or if you're going to add the system remotely, you could use the SN. This is how you would add it remotely. It's similar to adding the system using the mobile app. You would need to use the serial number code found in the P2P menu. This guide is going to focus being on the same network though, so I'm going to choose IP/domain and then enter in the IP address, the local IP address for my NVR. In device name, I just need to give this a name in the software. I'm going to name it Office NVR. This name is just for the software and for labeling purposes. Now I need to log in using the user account that I created, the restricted user account. So I've typed that username in and typed the password in. Again, this is the restricted user that I just created on the monitor interface that only has access to live view, playback, and camera control. So I'm going to click the add button and instantly got an online status. If you don't instantly get an online status, then you will need to verify your IP/domain, or if you're using the serial number method, make sure that your system has internet access and that you've correctly entered in the serial number, username, and password. But I got an online status, so I'm going to go ahead and just check my camera. So I'm going to click the plus button. It's going to open up a new tab. I'm going to click live view. Here I have my Office NVR. And then I can drag these cameras in to view. So I know this user account has access to live viewing. I can see that here. I was able to pull in these cameras. So I'm going to click the plus button again and just confirm that it does have playback access as well. So I click the plus button to open up a new tab. And I'm going to click playback. Playback is the same as search as far as the permissions are concerned. So I do see I have the NVR here. I'm logged into it. I'm going to click the caret icon, select the NVR, and then click search for today. So I do see I have a timeline, which means this user is able to access the recording from the NVR, even though it is a restricted user. I'm going to close out of this tab, close out of the devices tab, and get back to the live view menu. To confirm that the full control permission was successfully set, I need to click the audio talk button. Now that audio talk is working, I know that my permission worked for the full control permission. If you get a message that says unauthorized when you click the two-way talk button, then you know you need to go back in and make sure that the user, the restricted user, or the restricted user group that you created does have access. And that leads me into my next point. So if you do have an audio camera and you want to listen to audio, you would come up to the top and click the audio icon. That's going to play back audio through the camera to the software. I'm going to mute it. And this is the two-way talk icon. It is a microphone icon. So if I click that, then I'm engaging with two-way audio. You can also right-click the camera channel and click Start Audio to listen to the camera. You have to stop audio before you can start talk. But I'm just showing that the audio and two-way talk are also available by right-clicking on that channel. Last but not least, there is a turn on the remote intercom that will also start talk. So we can stop the remote intercom and it will also stop talk. Last but not least, depending on your internet connection, if you are viewing the system remotely, you note here that it automatically pulls up the mainstream on both of these channels when I'm accessing them through the software. If you're on a slow internet connection or the upload speed where your system is slow, then there is something you can do about the video. If it's laggy, you can right click, go down to Stream Type, and choose Substream 1. I'm going to do that on both channels. So I'm right clicking on the channel, I'm going down to Stream Type, and then I'm choosing Substream 1. So as long as the Substream is enabled on your NVR, you'll note that it's now showing the Substream at the top right hand side, or top left hand side, and these Substreams are using a lot less data. So on this camera, it's using roughly a tenth of the data. It was using around 2,500 kilobytes. And now in Substream, it's only using around 250 kilobytes. And then on this camera, in the Substream, it's using about 1,000 kilobytes. And then if we swap it back over to mainstream, we'll see that after it jumps back down, it uses around 6,000 to 7,000 kilobits per second. So roughly a seventh of the amount of data is needed when you switch it over to Substream. Hopefully this video helps you make a restricted user, download and install the PC software, connect to the recorder using the restricted user, then showed you some helpful playback tips or live viewing tips when you're accessing the system using the restricted user. Thank you for watching. If you're watching on YouTube, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.